overall as well. And also, we'll cover the overall macro market numbers for anyone that missed last week's show. Significant decline, 25% drop in terms of sales month versus month. And so that obviously leads to the lag indicator, which can be priced. We'll talk about what's happened there overall. We'll talk about, too, if you've been thinking about selling, why right now is the time to get ahead of the curve. We've seen many people who are still getting in. The good news is we haven't really seen prices decline too much yet, even though you've seen almost 25% decline in the amount of buyers. We're still getting a lot of sellers, a lot of money, and way more than they ever actually thought they had. One of the things we had on last week's show we didn't have time to get to was really the percent change in home prices over the last 5 years. They're wild, right? 70% plus in many areas, 65% plus increase in terms of prices in the last 5 years. And so what we found is a lot of homeowners have a lot more equity than they actually realize they do. And so talk about that as well. One thing, just kind of reminder, we talked about a few weeks ago, our team actually and myself has just developed a real estate scholarship opportunity where we have a real estate school now. Anybody looking to get licensed, who's an A player, who wants to serve people at the highest level and really, push at the hardest level from a real estate salesperson like we do in our culture, reach out to me. We have a scholarship. We'll help get you licensed, pay for your real estate school, get you trained up, and help you just be a part of our team, which is the top 1% in North America. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it still, even when we've seen a slowdown in the marketplace. We'll talk about how we're doing that and how it's a lot different. We also have a horror story we had on last week's really list of show items that we just didn't get a chance to get to. And we'll talk about that today's show as well.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends with the Morning Show. You've heard the personal endorsements here by Glenn Beck, by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Behind how we do this show, why I do this show, and really it became the calling for me of why I do the show and put a lot of time to prep and spend time each week doing the show. And it just comes down to the mistakes I see people make over and over and over again in terms of real estate. And they make the mistake of thinking that all the real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth now, especially since we're seeing a shift in the market. It's a whole different ballgame. If you look back just 6 months ago or 9 months ago, really any time up until March, you can have your high school student who's a kid, take some cell phone photos, put it on the MLS, and they sell the property and probably get a decent amount of money for it. But what's happened now, you take 25% less buyers in the marketplace, more listings, more availability, 50% increase in the amount of properties for sale. Now you actually have to be good and know what you're doing. And so this is a market that I love. It's a market that I really started our company in. I started our company in 2008. As everything was burning to the ground. But the good news is we were very, very, very adaptive in new school. And back in the day in my old office in 2005, they would make fun of me and call me the internet kid. And so what happened was we were really, really early to adopt these new tools and get very, very good at them, which really differentiate us from a lot of the old school agents. So here's the deal. And this is why I talk about this every show. I had a horror story this week. We talked about it. Someone's spouse had listed with someone from their church. Before they realized that, they had reached out to one of our websites. We got with them. By the time we spoke with them, met with them, they already listed with someone from the church. The person in the church had only sold 4 houses forever. And we did the math on that, looked it up. And if you look at the actual math, you have to understand this is a business. It's not just a friend-to-friend thing. This is a business. If you do the mathematics of that, the average sale price, their average commission, what they did over almost 2 years selling 4 houses, there's not enough money to eat with. And there's no possible way they spent more than $1 in their marketing, but people just pick anybody and think they're nice and friendly, and they can't figure out why they don't get the result they want. So here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing and one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period. And it really comes down to how well they actually execute. It's a lot more than just listing the property and hoping that someone sells it. And ultimately, that's what most agents do. And we talk about this over and over, but I still got to say it because I see the same horror stories even to listeners who listen to this show. They make the same mistake over and over. Here's what most agents do. I know this because I got in the business. I saw it happen over and over and over. And really, in the beginning, that's all I knew what to do, too, until I really sought out better ways and mentors and coaches and things. And do the 3 Ps. That's it. Number one, they promise you the world to get the listing, meaning they tell you anything and everything that you want to hear. What you're seeing right now, they're telling you that you can get a lot more for your house than probably it's worth. Then they tell you that. And then obviously the second thing they do is they put it to MLS. They take some photos, maybe professional. Most of the time it's not, from their cell phone. And then the third P is they sit back and pray that someone else brings a buyer. And if you realize that, look at most of the numbers, 90% plus, really 95% plus of deals are sold by somebody else, because most of the listing agents just put it in MLS, sit back, wait for somebody else to bring a buyer, get half the commission. They're okay with that. But see, us, we're not okay with that, because that means a lot of times you're leaving money on the table and you're not pushing the limit as much as you could. So it comes down to the actual variables. What most people don't realize, when you're selling a property on the listing side, aka listing and selling your house, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what that does? Puts money in your pocket, the property gets sold. If anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, that costs you your hard-earned equity. Right, the money that you earned through paying payments, living there, keeping upkeep, that gets lost. Because here's the thing, a lot of people don't realize, just because you sold the house doesn't mean you sold it for the most amount of money. A lot of times I see it every week where they cost themselves $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in terms of strategy and price strategy, where they just leave money on the table. And so what I said, look, there's got to be a better way. And so what we did is we sought out, and I sought out, to design a system that was proven and repeatable, that creates maximum leverage every single point. And so how do we make sure we manage these variables proactively? And then we put systems with both people and technology in place to maximize all those, to create a predictable result in the back end. And guess what? That's what we did. I created this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 21% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And it can be anything from the quality of the photos, the actual order of the photos, right? There's an order to the photos that buyers want to search to make sure that they can look through all of them. They have one goal, which is to obviously book the showing of the property. Your price strategy. Does your agent actually answer the telephone? If they do actually get web leads online, how long does it take them to respond to that web lead? And there's all these nuances and pieces, from negotiation to getting to the closing table, that make or break the home sale. And the fact is, the average agent in our marketplace sells roughly 4 homes a year. And so if you think about that, there's not a whole lot of experience in what they're doing. There's not a whole lot of money from a financial standpoint in what they're doing there to be able to give you leverage and give you the tools and technology you need on the back end. So we have a 6-figure marketing budget, right? We sell a house every 12 hours, plus 780 plus homes sold last year alone. And so you want to have something that has leverage behind it. And that's what our Guaranteed Sold System does. It creates maximum leverage for you. And so what we do there is we stack the dominoes. And so it's like a marathon. We talked about this before, but when you shoot off the gun at the marathon, everybody takes off at the same time, looks cool, it's a big group. But what you notice is over time, people tend to spread out. And at the end, some people finish their marathon 2, 3, 4 hours ahead of other people. It's the same exact thing that we do with the marathon of your home sale. We have a system that allows us to sprint through it to get you the results that you want. We line up the dominoes and we knock the dominoes over with the right things in the right order, and they're designed to do one thing. That one thing is to give you a competitive advantage when you're selling your house, period. On the flip side, guess what? There's 100-plus variables for buyers out there. It's still very difficult. Inventory is still low. Believe it or not, even though the market's slowed down a lot, it's still technically a seller's market. 2.3 months inventory this week. And so what happens is, you want to make sure you have someone who has the right technology, the right tools, and really the right know-how in helping you navigate the home purchase, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars that really make or break your purchase and really the quality of your purchase on the back end. So I designed a system there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully. So like I mentioned, if you listen to the show for a while, know one thing, and just take anything. If you take one thing from the show away, just know the agent that you choose matters. Their expertise they have matters, and we'll talk about that today on the rest of today's show. So quick break, right back in a quick second.
If you buy or sell a home right now, every detail means dollars, and who you hire to negotiate your home, that really matters. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and as an active investor who invests in real estate all across the great country of ours, I want the best negotiator representing my interests. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. He can help you navigate through multiple cash offers, and more importantly, he has turned complicated situations into 5-star reviews. Now check out his rave reviews on Google. Talk to him yourself. If you are on trial with big money at stake, you would want a seasoned negotiator with thousands of victories. if they will take you on and you can afford them, right? Well, your home deserves the best representation. Know your options. See how much demand your home can command in this market right now and get the best representation that you deserve.
Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, we can agree to sell it by a certain date, pay cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
We use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. The brand new market numbers in there, very, very, very interesting. If you notice, we talked about last 2 weeks, two types of numbers. I just want to keep you updating kind of what's going on and really just understand the two types of numbers, because a lot of times data that gets used becomes dated. And if I use data, a lot of times I don't make the best decision, right? So there's two types. We call it the overall rearview mirror data, which is what closed last month, which is what most everyone uses across the country. But I developed this system where we track every day the previous 7-day period for anything on the Grand Strand that goes under contract, and I can really get a great real-time pulse of what's happening. And so last week we had some very, very low numbers, very tough numbers. And I talked on the show, a lot of that had to do with the hurricane, because people were coming. We had buyers coming in town to buy stuff. They got scared. They didn't actually they didn't come because of the hurricane. They postponed the trip. And so if you look at last week's show, one whole weekend ago, there's 317 properties under contract in that 7-day period, which is a 41% drop from just 2 weeks prior, which is significant. Only 119,430,000 under contract, which was a 37% drop from just a few weeks prior. And so if you go back we'll go back to, let's say, the week of 9/14, in that scenario, right, 532 properties under contract, 187 million, which is pretty significant. So that's pretty decent numbers right there overall with that. If you look at just this last week, not too bad. It's kind of recovering pretty well. Right now, 440 properties under contract for $150,296,781, which is nice. So here's the deal. Bumped up from 317 to 440, which is great news there. Here's what we've also seen. Active listings. Active listings also go up. 891 active listings. This week, 905. So you saw that continue to climb. If you go back just really 20 weeks ago, we were averaging 690 properties under contract every week and 215 million. And so the difference, though, is back then there was only 382 active properties. Right now, 905 active properties, which is great. The one thing that's interesting, though, this week in terms of numbers, I watched the high-end. We saw a lot of high-end properties. In the last 7 days, there's only been 7 properties over $1 million go under contract, where last week's show, there's 11 properties over $1 million go under contract. And if you go back really to just 3 weeks ago, there was 12 properties over $1 million. Now, here's the deal, though. It did bounce back last week for anything $500,000 and above. The last 7 days, which is from this weekend, 65 properties over $500,000, which is awesome. If you go back to just last week's show, there's only 56. And so it did bump back up. And a lot of it had to do with people coming in town. Like I said, our team's right at almost 20 properties under contract the last 7 days, which is awesome. And so that's just something we're continuing to do, is push hard. And we have buyers still coming from across the country who know that's affordable here. They enjoy Myrtle Beach, and we've seen a lot of people now who are just really able to work remotely, which has been very, very important, because we're seeing a lot of people, younger people, all kind of different demographics coming here that are buying, and they're looking more as a overall long-term place where they're living here as full-time residents, and they can now work remotely. And so that's good news to see a bounce back. It's still low if you go back. And again, that just comes from pressure with interest rates. We just hit a 20-year high this past week in terms of interest rates. We'll talk about that in a second. It bumped up significantly through the middle of the week. Then it kind of dropped back down towards the end of the week. But right now, overall, last 7 days, 440 under contract. We were averaging anywhere between 500 and 600 overall in the past few months. And so still sustainable, but here's the thing. We know it's always supply and demand. So these are real-time numbers. I can forecast what happens in the future based on that. And so I know that sales are declining, right, going from 500 and 600 down to 400. And inventory is increasing from really 800 up to over 900. The overall thing you're going to see coming forward is you're going to see some softening of price. The good news is it's not a huge big plethora of inventory yet, but if you're thinking about selling, play those numbers to your advantage, knowing we're still in the fall market. right? Rates are still reasonable. And overall, we're still have lots of buyers coming. In this case, right, 440 buyers who purchased properties here in the last 7 days. And so if you're thinking about selling, keep that in mind. I'll really quick just kind of recap the overall macro market for anyone that missed last week's show. Last week, we talked about what happened in the last month. So we're in October right now. What happened in September's numbers? September sales were down 23.9% from the same month last year, and they're all down from the peak, which happened this year in March. And so in March, there were 703 properties sold. This past September, only 518 properties sold overall. Prices are really up year versus year at 7.7%, but they are down from the peak. They peaked out this year in May at $380,000 for median price. Right now, median price only $350,000, where you are seeing that climb down a little bit. And so overall average sale price is up 1.0% from the same month last year. But again, if you look at the peak, it's down significantly. Right now, the overall average price on the Grand Strand is $420,546. That's down from the peak this year in April at $488,186. What's that mean? Well, that means overall the prices this year peaked out in April, and ever since then they've declined. So in April, it's $488,186, dropped down to $474, down to $449, down to $450, then down to $433, and right now it's at $420,546. And again, that goes back, as we talked about in previous shows, it's supply and demand driven. Part of that is the market normalizing, getting back towards pre-COVID stuff, where some of that was just craziness, right? $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 above asking price. Now we're seeing it change a little bit and really be a lot better, more of a neutral market, which is good overall. And so that's something really quick. We'll talk about also going forward. The one kind of thing that's interesting to look at is months of supply. Supply is up, which is the amount of homes in the market, up 53.3%. So right now we're at 2.3 months of inventory. It's still technically a seller's market. We've seen, I've heard this twice this past week from agents most agents weren't in the market before their most recent run, right? They haven't really been through a downturn or see what's happened. We've had some agents telling people it's a buyer's market. It's not a buyer's market until there's 6 months inventory in the market. Right now, we're only at 2.3 months. And so that's kind of like the saving grace in a lot of this. It also creates some complexity in what's happening because rates have gone up, right? We have supply chain issues everywhere. But the reality is we also have a housing shortage to the tune of 5 million units, because after the 2008 crisis, the overall building supply did not keep up with population growth. And so that's something we'll talk about in today's show a little bit later, but it's something to keep in mind where it's kind of a wild card where it is protecting price a little bit, which is good news because there's still shortages both on rents, also for owning properties, both second homes, investment properties. And so the good news is Myrtle Beach is still very, very well isolated. And we're also, one of the top cities across the country the past 2 years. So I'm going to jump into the micro market really quick for anyone that missed last week's show. This is something that's super important because this is like what's happening in my zip code, like what's going on overall where I'm at, what's happening in my neighborhood. And the one thing that really drives a lot of that is the Myrtle Beach area. So that's kind of the middle. I use that. That's really what you see happen the first more than any of the other areas, and it kind of spreads out along the coast. So Myrtle Beach, 29577, 29572. Last month, sales down 12.6% from the same month last year. Year-to-date, Myrtle Beach sales down 8.0%. The good news is prices up 15.8% year-to-date right now. So last year, the same time, it was $380,000. Right now, it's $440,000. And that's what I was talking about, where if I'm thinking about selling, you can still cash out at the top. It's not quite as crazy with multiple offers, this and that. But if you're thinking about that, if you had any inclination for investment properties, you're looking to move laterally, or if you're just looking to cash out on some things that you're just tired of dealing with, or you want to really get the most of what you've had for a long time, now is the time to do that because it's very, very simple mathematics. We always know it's supply and demand driven. We both know that sales are down to the tune of 25%. Inventory's up to the tune of 50+%. Guess what's going to happen to the lagging indicator, which is price? We know that's going to soften, aka go down. And so take advantage of that now. This is one of those cases where speed matters. If I'm thinking about selling, make sure you reach out to me ASAP, and we'll talk about that in strategy based on your area, based on your neighborhood. But the good news here is price is up year-to-date 15.8% overall in Myrtle Beach. Inventory, the amount of homes for sale, is up 18.7% in Myrtle Beach. Condo sales, overall, down 9.6% year-to-date. They were down 22.6% last month, but here's a crazy number. Condo prices in Myrtle Beach year-to-date is up 38.7%, which is awesome. So the same time last year, right, $155,000. Right now, 215. That's a great time to cash out. Take some equity off. If I'm playing the long game, cash out that equity, sit back, wait for some good deals to pop up, and then I can reinvest and redeploy that capital here with some great deals coming up going forward, which is great. Inventory, check this out, though. Inventory for condos on the Grand Strand's up 86.5% in Myrtle Beach in the 29577, 29572 area. If you look at North Myrtle Beach overall, year-to-date sales down 4.4% for homes. If you look at last month, they were down 35.3% overall in terms of sales. The good news is prices are still up. Year-to-date prices up 17.2% for median price in North Myrtle Beach. So from $458,171 last year to $536,900 this year. Another great opportunity right there to cash out and really get some of that overall. Inventory is not that really much of an increase. They're only up 3.8% from the same time last year, which is great. Not a whole lot of condo sales there. We'd reach out building to building if you want to know more about that. Carolina Forest, sales down year-to-date, down 4.1%. Overall, last month, down 3.3%. Median price, though, is up 29.1% year-to-date overall. So that lagging indicator has not kicked in yet, which means if I'm a seller, I want to take advantage of that, cash out, because prices are still holding pretty well due to the fact of low inventory really across the board. So last year, same time, $340,000 was the overall median price. Right now, $438,964, which is awesome. But here's the wild card. Inventory for September, up 70.3% from the same time last year. So last year, there was 202 properties in the market. Right now, 344 properties on the market. So you can see the difference here overall. Into Conway. Overall closed sales last month down 26.9%. The good news is year-to-date up 3.9%. You will see that get wiped out here the next 2 months because we have very, very strong first quarter, decent second quarter, and obviously third and fourth quarter is getting hammered a little bit in terms of new sales as rates started climbing back in March. Median price up 11.7% last month, which is great. Year-to-date, though, Conway. Prices up 21.7% from $234,208 up to $285,000. If you see that pattern there, right, you're seeing double digits in a lot of the prices year to date, which means they haven't seen the impact yet of less buyers because of rates going up, which means you want to cash out and get the most of your equity right now. Take some of those chips off the table if you're looking to do so in that scenario. Loris and Longs, closed sales up 0.5% year to date, which is almost right on track. So last year there were 771 sales, right now 775. So we're seeing that hold up very, very well, which is good. We've seen a lot more people just kind of expand out really a little bit further into Loris and Longs. There's a lot more affordability, larger lots. The good news is prices up year-to-date up 23.1%. So from $234,730 last year to $288,970 this year, which is awesome. Inventory, though, is up significantly, up 38.9% in Loris and Longs. So if I'm thinking about selling, definitely make some action really, really quick here. Aner, sales up 48.2% year-to-date, which is awesome. From 83 sales last year to 123 sales this year overall, obviously, at the end of September. The good news is prices also up 17.2% from $244,950 up to $287,000, which is awesome. The one challenge, though, we've seen inventory spike in Aner, which means you're going to see some softening of price going forward. So inventory Aner up 207%. So there was 14 homes in September 2021. Right now, 43 homes on the market, and so that's what you're just seeing a lot more of that happen. Into Soxie area, 29588 zip code. Sales down year-to-date 1.7%. They're down last month 2.9%. The great news, though, prices year-to-date up 27.6%, which is awesome. So last year in September, it's $255,000. Right now, $325,400. Inventory, though, also just spiked up like crazy, up 53.3%. So we all know it's competition-based, right? If I have more competition, my neighbors are selling too, that's going to obviously increase inventory, which will decrease price eventually. So make sure you understand that speed matters right now. If I've been thinking about selling, if you've been listening to the show for a while, contemplating it, reach out, call me today, right now, 843-808 sold for sure. We'll go through no pressure, just laid back and say, look, here's the data, here's what's happening. And really, we talked about many previous shows. I'm a big nerd for data because it helps you make better decisions. We can look at what your goals are. In some cases, we told clients, hey, look, don't sell right now. Here's your strategy. If it's more of a long-term hold, or depending on what you want to do with that capital, you can probably get a better return in terms of what you're doing. So last couple ones here, Surfside, sales down year-to-date 29.4%. The good news is prices still up 23.6% year-to-date from $295,900 up to $365,400 $596, which is awesome. Inventory is not that much, though. It's only up 2.6%, which is awesome. So Surfside still performing very well. Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet area, sales down year-to-date 19.6%, but prices still up because it's a lagging indicator. We're going to see that follow 2 to 3 months behind. Right now, it's up 26.9% from $335 last year to $425 this year. Make sure that you're able to cash in, get a lot of that. Last couple ones here, Pawleys Island, Litchfield. Sales down year-to-date 28.7%, but prices still up 21% overall from $444,000 even up to $537,225, which is great. Inventory is actually down in Pawleys and Litchfield. So if you have a house there or a condo there, you definitely have an opportunity because inventory is down. So it's still scarce, down 16.5%, which is great. And last one into Georgetown here, sales down year-to-date 2.5%, but prices also up 19.8% from $246,250 up to $295,000. Inventory also down in Georgetown 40.2%. So what's the main pattern there? The main pattern we saw sales down almost every single area year to date. But notice prices have not fallen yet. Again, that's because inventory was so tight. We talked about that in previous shows, but it also is that lagging indicator. And so take advantage of this fall market while weather's still good. We have lots of very affluent buyers in town who are buying stuff, and they still see Myrtle Beach as a great deal. Take advantage of that. Prices are still holding strong. Make sure you're able to get the max amount of equity that you earned by upkeeping the house, by paying those payments, and make sure you're using an expert like ourselves, who's very good at what we do, who has marketing reach across the globe, who can bring those buyers into you. Really quick, the one thing driving a lot of this, interest rates, right? I feel that we've seen significant drop once rates went over 7%. Right now, 7.10%. We hit a 20-year high this past week in the middle of the week at 7.14%, which is huge. It's a little scary, right? I think that is a threshold for a lot of buyers because in Myrtle Beach, there's an overlay for some second home properties where it tends to go up to 8 and 9% based on that type of property. So definitely watch out for that. The good news is still a lot of opportunity for buyers out there. We've really been helping our sellers and also our buyers. You can buy down points right now, and so we're giving back some closing costs to buyers, and what it does is allows a buyer to buy down the rate and get a much better rate in terms of that. And so you can buy points, which you can drop the actual interest rate down up to 2 points, for example, which would be 2%. And so if you want to know more how that works on the buy side or the sell side, reach out, call me. I can walk you through that privately. 15-year fixed rate right now, 6.31%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 6.06%. 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now, 6.35%. 30-year FHA, 6.62%. And a 30-year VA is 6.62%. So here we go. 30-year fixed, 7.10%. If you look at the 12-month low, it was 3.07%. So from 3.07 to 7.10, that's going to knock some buyers out of the game. Now, here's the deal. If I'm a buyer, though, we talk about this a lot, it does give some opportunity where you can actually afford to buy because you're not getting outbid by all kind of buyers from across the country, and you're also able to get in and negotiate off a little bit and negotiate some closing costs back and have some flexibility. And so anybody that's been renting, anybody that's been looking to move laterally, the prices haven't dropped yet, and it's still very, very helpful for you to sell and cash out in that as well. So take a quick break. Be right back here in a quick second and finish up some awesome success stories.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:38. 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 Sundays at